So here I have 3 different sizes. These first 2 blue ones are called tapestry needles. And tapestry needles are very similar to embroidery needles. However, their eyelets are a little bit longer and a little bit thicker than an embroidery needle. We'll start with the size 28 is going to be a little bit smaller gauge than a size 24. Think of a hospital needle, all you healthcare people. When you would use size 28 versus size 24, for me, I would hardly ever touch the size 28 unless I'm doing 1 or 2 strands max on very small detailed work such as thread blending, or you could call it thread painting, or small detailed work using just 1 strand. I'm gonna grab I completed. There's a dark blue here and a light blue over top of it. The light blue is where I used 1 strand. And using a smaller needle is going to help you thread. It's going to help you put the needle where it needs to go specifically and make it easier to pull it through the fabric because it's so tiny. Okay, so that's when I would use size 28 tapestry. So moving up a little bit in size 24, this is my go-to. I use this for pretty much everything. And that's because I do not use needle threaders. I thread all my needles, I lick one of my fingers, go like this, and then I flatten the strands and then through the eye, like so. So with your size 24, you're at an advantage here because they're only a little bit bigger, so you're not going to have a hard time pulling your needle through your fabrics, even if you are using more of a thicker fabric. And then my favorite part about these needles is the eyelet. They are a little bit longer and a little bit thicker than the size 28. So much easier to thread, larger strand counts. And when I say larger strand counts, I mean 4, 5, 6 plus. And then finally, these are also another popular one I see a lot of people use. I typically use them as well. I try and stay away from larger strand counts with the size 5 embroidery needles, only because the eyes are also a little bit smaller and they're not as thick as the tapestry size 24, which means you're gonna have a harder time threading with larger strand counts if you don't have a needle threader. And a lot of needle threaders are too thick to even fit through the eyes on these needles. So my advice, size 24 tapestry is my go-to. Something like this project here where I'm going to be here, this black line is 4 strands, so I ended up using this. However, when I get down to the small detailed lines, that's when I would probably switch, even though I can still use the size 24 for smaller strand counts. Another advantage of these is you can use them for anything. Size 5, they almost have like a sharper point, I feel like, too, at the end of the needle. So you're really wanting to use these for small detail type projects, blending, small strand counts.